I love the combination of the oh wow to me.
On the last video I did on end-of-life visions or deathbed visions, we brought up the eulogy of Steve Jobs and his final words, which were, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow.
And looks perhaps into the beyond and says, and is wowed.
What did he see to make him say these powerful final words when it describes that he was embarking on a journey to a better place?
His sister Patty knew him very well and said he was expecting to be in a better place. You know, that is beautiful.
Like I said before, we won't exactly know what he was experiencing until it is our turn to transition. However, we can learn about these experiences from books like Glimpses of Eternity that talk about shared death experiences. And we can learn about it by books like Threshold here that talks about terminal lucidity. And the combination of experiences like these end-of-life visions, these deathbed visions, and terminal lucidity and shared death experiences make a very cumulative, a very compelling cumulative case for the evidence of the afterlife, and even artificial intelligence agrees.
Based on a careful, evidence-weighted analysis of near-death experiences, terminal lucidity, rare veridical perception cases, and the conceptual plausibility of biophotonic quantum mechanisms, the cumulative data suggest that consciousness exhibits continuity under extreme physiological stress and potentially beyond clinical death. ChatGPT 2026.
And if you remember from the previous video, we learned that Steve's virtue was love. And we also know from the Bible that God is love, and to Steve, love was his God. So perhaps this is the reason Steve was able to see in his vision something that made him say, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. If you read the full eulogy of Steve Jobs, you will have learned that even though love was a virtue of his, he may have been very difficult at times, much like all of us, okay? But that is okay, because possibly from what he saw that made him say, oh wow, he accepted the free gift of grace that takes someone like me and Steve, who is imperfect, and makes them perfect and makes them whole. That's as far as we're going to go with that story today. What I promised you in the last video is that I would bring to you a personal story from the family, and likely you have some of these within your own family, and that is a beautiful story of transition of a loved one. So some of these stories of transition happen so quick, it is not comforting. And in fact, it is very tragic. And the previous story to this beautiful story is something to that effect. You see, Grandma lived into her 90s. She had a beautiful life, a beautiful family. Her son, however, one of her 3 sons, he transitioned into the afterlife very quickly. It was a tragic event immediately from a stroke. Many of you have probably experienced some of this yourself. The pain and the loss is instant and very tragic for the family. But what we learn from hospice situations, as these nurses know when to recognize signs and events where these visions are starting to occur, that gives them a sign that there is about to be a transition about to happen, and to call the family. And that's what happened with us, with the grandmother, that we were all called, ready to be there at our moment of transition.
I went and saw a young man named Tom. I came out of the nurse's station and I said, I think Tom has more time if we just gave him some IV antibiotics and some IV fluid. And without so much as looking up, a nurse named Nancy says, nope, he's dying. I say, why? She says, because he's seen his deceased mother. I say, I don't remember that class from medical school.
So these hospice nurses, they understand that, yes, when somebody starts to see their deceased loved one appearing to them in the room or in their dreams frequently in vision, it's about to go down. The transition is about to happen. So Grandma being in her 90s, we got the phone call. We all went. The whole family was there during her moment of transition to make her say words very similar to Steve Jobs. Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. So to give you a little bit more context, her husband, had previously passed, and one of her 3 sons had previously passed, and now it has come to her turn with her family present all around. And this lady, she was the glue that held the family together. Even our daughter, our first daughter, was named after her. So to the family, passing of loved ones was not unfamiliar. We had lost a mother, and the mother started to see premonitions of her father, who had died in a motorcycle accident, starting to appear to her in the room. And like said with the father, he passed tragically and instantly from a stroke. But he was one of the 3 sons. But in the case with the grandmother, so our grandmother was in the room, and she had my wife with her and her other sons with her, and she started to go back and forth, as we said in the first discussion, where you're straddling between 2 worlds. She was starting to fade in and out of this world and the next. And she looked up and said to them, "It is beautiful up here. David is walking me up the stairs." So you see, this is very similar to Steve Jobs' words, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. It is beautiful up here. David is walking me up the stairs." Now, David was the son that tragically died from a stroke, and he was there to escort her up the stairs.
Truly, truly, I tell you, you will all see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man.
So during the moment of transition for our grandmother, we were able to witness this straddling between 2 worlds. The silver cord had not yet fully loosened from her body when she emerged and looked at her family members and said, "It is beautiful up here. David's walking me up the stairs." It is truly, utterly amazing. Again, we don't always get to witness these events like this, but when we do, it is beautiful and we should cherish it. It is amazing. We can all learn and get comfort from these experiences.
Remember your Creator before the silver cord is snapped, before the dust returns to the ground from which it came, and the spirit returns to God who gave it.
So like I said earlier, we can learn a lot from these experiences. It is a beautiful moment that can bring comfort to the family that is grieving. It doesn't always go down like this where you have a transition, but it is common, and we can research it. You can learn about it from sheer death experiences. You can learn more about terminal lucidity, and even Billy Graham, he experienced a situation like this with his passing of one of his loved ones. And again, we're in a situation where there are many that will just flat out deny everything. There are these modern skeptics that are deniers, and they'll, not for me, okay? Well, there is plenty of evidence to build a cumulative case that is very compelling. So that should give you comfort. Also, I want to say, well, David was there to escort grandmother into paradise. Who is going to escort you into paradise? Who is your way? Do you know the way? And do you know the name to call upon when it is your turn to transition?
If you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Romans 10:9.